Hello and welcome back to our studio. I'm Ola, your host, and I'm joined here by Khalef and Kræn. So Khalef, you had your talk yesterday, and Kræn, you had your talk today. It's a very special situation because it was sort of like a two-part talk done by different people. I really loved how you did the shout-out in your talk that people should come in today and see Kræn's talk. So that's really great. And So I have a couple of questions about how you go about building the Node API for React Native, right? Because it's not something that you can just sit down over a spare weekend and build. So how do you go about building it with a community? How do you organize that?
Right. So, it took a lot of time. Mostly, Vladimir, who was the other person who was presenting with me, did a lot of that work. So huge shout out to him because it was pretty complicated. But from the inception, it started with trying to think about some of the problems that we were trying to solve, especially as we were standing up React Native for the Windows platform. And as we found out what those were, we started looking into potential ideas for how we could solve it. And Node API became something that was interesting as a component that was well established and all of that. So then we started talking to the owners of that API, filling in some gaps where there was feature that was missing that we didn't have, and then spent a lot of time building an initial implementation to actually prove that it's valuable. And then once we had that, and we could see it start working in React Native for Windows, that's when we started engaging with Meta, starting to talk about it with the rest of the community. So I think we're at that point now where it looks like something that's viable and is very promising, and we're starting that larger engagement with the community to get a sense of, would you use this? Can you help us? Maybe help us, or even help us generate ideas on what we can do. So we're at this point.
Thinking on tactical level, what does it take to build a community? I think so what got me involved in this was, I believe, Jamie Birch's talk at the React Summit US last year. And I would probably call it a big nerd snipe. I was just feeling the energetic about being able to potentially use Rust more. And I saw that connection from seeing his talk. He didn't mention Rust, but I could just see those pieces coming together. And I also see now that we many different individuals in the community having different problems that we want to solve, but where a lot of the many of the problems basically point to Node API as a solution. It's a very faceted technology that you can use for many different use cases, I would say. So what does it take to build a community? I think in this case, people upstreaming, opening their code, also talking about their problems, their desires for where to take this in that process, sniping other people in the community, nerd sniping them to start contributing and giving talks and discussing. I think the more communication you do around the things you're passionate about, the more people will gravitate towards the things that you're passionate about, and then that's how you give
them your passion, and then it spreads.
Yeah, and then having conversations for me personally with the Callstack people around what can we do to make this a little more official than somebody just putting out a package in a weekend, right? How can we do this more sustainably, and having them also sponsor the project in terms of having engineers also contributing to it. I think is just an open-mindedness around different ways of collaborating.
It feels, for me in particular, it feels like this year at React Universe Conf, there's a lot of talks about inviting different languages and low level, what can we do that's really outside of JavaScript? And it feels like an opening that we have in the community. So you are a big part of that. But I checked out your bio, and your bio is focused on Realm, Realm.js. So how did you land in React Native?
I think so. I actually wrote my first React Native stuff when I joined Realm, and that was 8 years ago.
Okay.
And then Realm got acquired 6 years ago, and MongoDB decided to refocus and sunset Realm autumn last year. So I've been I'm very heavily invested in the React Native ecosystem, and so what was the question again?
What got you interested in React Native?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, just that I got a job where we were building a binding for React Native, right? Very early on. But just because of the way that Realm was, we were basically bridgeless from the beginning.
Oh,
That's a story for a different conference talk. But that thing, like, and how we reached into the internals of like rewriting memory to get the JS at that point JavaScript core runtime pointer, rewriting function pointers and stuff like that. We did some stuff that was very interesting.
yeah.
I think very strange as well to facilitate the developer experience we wanted, right? And I think all of that, it was just like so many different moving pieces and tools I could dive into, and but learning on the job, I would say that's what got me into React Native. And then just...
That's a happy accident.
Yeah.
Have you here?
And I think the community, like just being so approachable and like for me being welcoming towards like that I've experienced that in this community is just something that keeps me hanging out here, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So given your focus on Node API, is there some advice that you would like to give React Native developers out there who are thinking about building a native module? Is there some like one particular piece of advice that you would like to pass to them?
I guess like try it out in a sense, like look at the Callstack blog. There's a blog article around the example. Jamie Birch did an article there with a repository you can check out and try to build. I would say that's one way of getting started, to just understand like what is the developer experience. And then on a very selfish note, it would be awesome if when you see things that aren't working the way that you expect it to, or you see opportunities for making that better, just voicing your opinion and sending a message. We tend to be pretty approachable, either on Blue Sky X or on the Discord.
You mentioned also that there's a Callstack Discord channel specifically for talking about Node API.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the exact same thing. Like it's you have to try it out to get a sense of it, and the more feedback we can get from different developers on their specific use cases. I mean, one, it helps us decide what to prioritize and how to design all these things, but it's also very energizing when you're building something and you're hearing people actually using it and like getting good value out of it. So I think like especially at that phase where we are right now, just like hearing what people are doing is super important.
That's great. And if anybody is interested, we have a blog post and there's a QR code that you can go through to the blog post from Callstack about Node API. So come check it out. Join the Discord, right? And Microsoft is pretty much building in the open. So that's greatly appreciated by the community as well. Ken, at the end of your talk, you asked for people to tell you what libraries they would like to see, right? But I want to flip the question. And Khalef, is there like a library that you're excited to see that will be ported
through Node API?
Yeah.
I mean, the libraries, the one that I'm interested in is all the libraries that are available today in Node.js. So for example, the file system, if we could start like seeing these running in React Native, and ideally with as much code sharing as possible directly from Node, I think this would be really cool, because like immediately we'd start having libraries that have been used at scale, that have been tested, and it sets up like it's one of the libraries that's used frequently, but it sets us up for success for migration of additional libraries after that.
How about you?
I guess like some of the web APIs is stuff that I'm interested in, which aren't necessarily published as Node.js packages, but it could be like implementations in the Node.js project using Node API to implement those, or other alternatives like browsers implemented in Rust, where we could lift out and reuse some of those implementations of the JavaScript, of the web APIs. Trying to bring that in. I don't think we should build everything from scratch. And if we could reuse some of that, it's still very untread territory in a way, like at least for me. But it's something that I want to get my feet wet and try out.
Okay. Do you like work? Do you have like side projects where you also try out different Node libraries and work further with the Node API?
So I work 30 hours a week at MongoDB, and then outside of that, I have around like 10-15 hours to work on stuff that I'm interested in. Not sponsored by MongoDB, and in that situation, I'll just try out stuff and innovate where I think it's interesting.
Okay,
it does that make sense? Like I'm not building too many apps myself. That's also something I want to get into at some point. But just like building stuff for this community, and also building tooling that will help me build libraries and developer experiences is interesting.
Okay. My last question is not that much Node API related, but there's so much talk about AI, like everybody's talking about AI. So I'm really curious, just what are your thoughts about the everyday usage of AI in like your work specifically?
I think I'm using it quite a lot as a study buddy or somebody to validate to have conversations about some of the things that is on the edge of my abilities.
Okay.
To validate my assumptions, stuff like that. To be honest, like lately we've seen some stuff around like AI psychosis and stuff on online. At least I've seen some
AI psychosis.
Yeah, basically people. Have you seen Her? Like the movie, like people just thinking that they're like the like a sent from God, and the AI just validating their experience to the point where people get hospitalized because they get dependent on AI, right? So I think
pretty bad.
It is pretty bad. So like it's a continuum, right? Like they're like, of course, there's got to be outliers in something like that, but I think it's really, let's say it's very interesting, it's very powerful, and with great power, right?
It comes with great responsibility, exactly. How about you, Khalef? What do you think?
I'm very optimistic about it, to be honest.
Okay.
Like I've seen in like my personal use cases, but also other things that folks from my team have done, that it does bring a pretty big boost in productivity. In certain cases, especially, like there's help you write code, but also sometimes when you're reading code that you're not familiar with, to be able to trace what's actually happening using an AI agent to start asking questions, but like what's happening, what is this component?
Yeah, I see that's something I like to do. Sometimes I read the code, I'm unsure, and then I ask, can you explain? And then I check my assumptions if that's pretty much what I understood, if it's the same.
Yeah, and this is very helpful also, like document generation. Like we don't always like to write documentation.
That's true.
But AI tools can help with that. But like in general, like I think like as developers, as long as we have strong foundational skills and we don't completely blindly trust what the AI is giving us, it's pretty good. Like I see a lot of people using it, and I think it's just going to keep getting better.
I think that's a great note to finish on. Thank you so much for being here and for talking with me. And we'll see you for the next interviews.
Thank you.